The night was cold on the plains, the kind of bitter chill that seeped into the bones and rattled through the thin walls of Daniel Whitaker's cabin. The small fire in the hearth had burned down to embers, casting the single-room home in shadows. Daniel sat hunched in a rocking chair, his arms aching as he held the tiny bundle pressed against his chest. His baby boy, Samuel, cried with a piercing wail that had lasted for hours. The sound carved into Daniel's heart, each cry a reminder of what had been lost. 2 weeks earlier, Mary, his beloved wife, had slipped away after the long, difficult birth. Daniel had buried her on the hill beside the cottonwoods, marking her grave with a simple wooden cross. He had stood there for hours, numb, his newborn son crying in his arms, and wondered how a man could be expected to go on. Now, every night was the same. Samuel's small body twisted in hunger, his face flushed red from the force of his cries. Daniel rocked him, whispered to him, prayed over him, but nothing could fill the child's empty stomach. The milk cow had dried up after the harsh winter. Neighbors were miles away, and Daniel had neither the money nor the strength to ride into town. His heart broke with each cry. "I'm sorry, son," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I don't know how to give you what you need." For the first time in his life, Daniel, a man who had faced storms, bandits, and the merciless hardships of ranching, felt powerless, truly powerless. And then, in the middle of the night, a knock came at the door. Daniel froze. The sound was soft but sure. He rose slowly, still cradling Samuel against his chest, and moved to the door. His rifle leaned against the wall, but he did not reach for it. When he pulled open the door, lantern light spilled across the porch, revealing a woman standing there in the cold. She was wrapped in a heavy shawl, her cheeks flushed from the wind. Her hair, dark as midnight, framed a face both strong and kind. In her hands she carried a small basket. "I heard the baby crying," she said gently. "I was passing on my way back from town and couldn't just ride by." Daniel blinked in disbelief. Who are you?" "Anna Caldwell," she said. "My family runs the trading post near the canyon. We're about 5 miles out." Her eyes softened as she looked at Samuel squirming in his arms. "He's hungry, isn't he?" Daniel's throat tightened. He could only nod. Anna stepped inside without waiting for invitation, setting her basket on the table. From it, she pulled a flask of goat's milk, some fresh bread, and a small tin cup. "My brother's wife just weaned her little one," she explained. "She sent this along just in case." Daniel stood frozen as Anna warmed the milk by the fire, poured it carefully into the cup, and fed it to Samuel with slow patience. For the first time in days, the baby quieted, his tiny hands curling around Anna's finger as he drank. The sound of silence, blessed silence, brought tears to Daniel's eyes. He turned away, ashamed, but Anna noticed. "You've carried this burden alone," she said softly. "But you don't have to anymore." Anna stayed that night not as a guest, but as someone who seemed to belong. She rocked Samuel while Daniel slept for the first time in days. When dawn broke, she stoked the fire, made coffee, and swept the floor as though the cabin were her own. Daniel awoke startled, unsure if the night had been a dream. But there she was, steady, kind, and real. "I'll come back tomorrow," Anna said as she prepared to leave. "And the day after, if you'll allow it. A baby needs more than one man can give." Daniel wanted to protest. He was proud, stubborn, and used to carrying his own weight. But the sight of Samuel sleeping peacefully in his cradle silenced his pride. "You'd do that?" he asked quietly. Anna's green eyes held his without flinching. Of course. Days turned into weeks, and Anna kept her word. She came each morning with food, milk, and a smile that lit up the small cabin. Together, she and Daniel learned how to soothe Samuel, how to rock him, feed him, and even laugh when his tiny fists waved angrily in the air. Daniel found himself watching Anna more than he intended. The way her hair fell loose when she worked, the sound of her laughter as Samuel gurgled in her arms, the gentle strength with which she faced every task. One evening after supper, Daniel spoke quietly. "You didn't have to do any of this. You could have just kept riding that first night." Anna looked down at Samuel, who was dozing in her lap. "I lost a child once," she whispered. "Long before you knew me." a little girl who lived only a week. When I heard Samuel cry, I knew I couldn't let another baby suffer." Her voice trembled, and for the first time, Daniel saw the pain she carried. His heart ached, not only for his own grief, but for hers. "You saved us," he said simply. Spring brought renewal to the land. Grass pushed green through the soil, calves stumbled beside their mothers, and the ranch began to breathe again. Daniel worked the pastures with newfound strength, knowing Samuel and Anna were waiting for him at home. One warm evening, as the sun dipped low, Daniel found Anna sitting on the porch with Samuel asleep in her arms. She hummed softly, her voice carrying across the golden fields. He sat beside her, removing his hat. For a long moment neither spoke. Then Daniel cleared his throat. "Anna," he began, his voice low, "I never thought I'd have a family again. I never thought I deserved one after Mary passed. But you've given me more than help. You've given me hope." Anna turned to him, her eyes glistening. "And you've given me a home I never expected." Daniel reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Months later, under the same cottonwoods where Mary rested, Daniel and Anna stood side by side, Samuel cradled between them. The preacher's voice carried over the prairie as they spoke vows not of convenience, but of love born from loss, compassion, and second chances. Neighbors gathered, smiling through tears, as Daniel slipped a simple gold band onto Anna's finger. That night, with Samuel sleeping peacefully in his cradle and the stars glittering across the sky, Daniel whispered to Anna, "I thought all was lost. But then you knocked at my door." Anna smiled, her hand resting on his chest. "And I'll keep knocking every day for the rest of our lives." As the fire crackled and the prairie stretched endless before them, Daniel knew his greatest fortune was not the land, nor the cattle, but the family born from a cry in the night and a knock that brought hope to his door years later. Samuel grew into a strong boy who loved the land as his father did. At night, Daniel and Anna often sat together on the porch, watching their son chase fireflies. In those quiet moments, Daniel always remembered. Hope had first come as a knock. Samuel's laughter rang across the fields. Daniel wrapped an arm around Anna's shoulders. The prairie wind carried the scent of fresh grass and the promise of tomorrow. Once he had believed himself cursed by loss, but now he understood. Life had given him a second chance. And every sunset, with Anna by his side and Samuel running free, Daniel gave thanks for the night hope came knocking. Seasons passed, and the ranch thrived under their care. Visitors often spoke of the Whitaker homestead as a place of peace, where love was stronger than hardship. Daniel, watching his family grow, knew one truth. Sometimes the greatest blessings come when we least expect them. And for Daniel, that blessing was Anna, Samuel, and home.